Hey everyone. So I've been working on this astrology series where I've needed to create a lot of these inner concentric shapes that are weird shapes, and I found some tools that make it really, really easy to do it. So before I would draw my shape and then try and draw a shape around it and put a hole and draw a shape and put a hole, and I had a hard time keeping things really consistent all the way around the same thickness, and this is the fix. Okay, so let's say I want concentric rings, and I want them to all be fills, and they're going to underlap so that we get clean coverage all the way across. Here's the easiest way I found to do it so far. I'm going to copy my first shape. I'm going to go and change the top one to another color just so it's easier. And I'm going to go to operations, outline offset, and let's make it 25 points bigger than the first circle. And now we have a perfect outline. And let's do a couple of these. So I'll do this again. I'm gonna duplicate my shape, change that top shape to another color so it's easier to look at. Operations, offset, 25 points to be consistent, which is like 2.5 millimeters. Right, so now we've got these concentric circles happening. We'll do one more, just for practice. Let's go ahead and change that color, make a burgundy this time, because it'll be fun. And then offset outline, 25 points. Okay, so now we have 4 fills stacked on top of each other. We can't sew it this way, right? If we're looking at that center density, it's going to be 4 points of density times 4. Like, we're going to get, look, we can already see, we're getting angry fill notifications. So we can't keep it this way. We need to break them up. And what I was doing is I would go to this one, I would insert a hole manually. So I would select my shape, go to this insert a hole, and then I would zoom in and I would start putting points, ish, 10 points in from the edge to give myself some underlap, and I would put some holes in this shape. This is not the fast way, this is the hard way. There's a much easier way to do this. It does work though. So if you want to do it this way, you can. If we get rid of the blue, right, we've got a hole in our shape now. It's not terrible, it worked, but there's a better way. So let's delete that. We have this in here again. If we instead select our object, or let's select the object. We want to select the object we want to take stitches from. So we're going to select the green object, and then Control, select the blue object. And then over here at the top, there's a Subtract Elements button. If we right-click on that, we can set the overlap. I'm going to set mine to 10 points, and I'm going to push OK. And then when we select this button, it's going to auto perfectly take that, put a hole in the green element for us. And then we can keep doing this, which is really cool. So we can take the pink object, select the green object, subtract. I've already set a 10-point underlap, so it's going to do it automatically for us. Sometimes it does this and I don't. Oh, it's giving us the, it gave us the hole from the center object. So we don't need this. We can just delete that. And then we're just left with the ring. And then we can do this again with this one. So we'll take the burgundy, we'll select the pink, we're going to select the subtract tool, and again, it's going to give us that internal ring, which we do not need, so let's delete it. And now, if we look at these, we've got outer ring, next ring in, next ring in, next ring in. Nothing is more than 2 layers, super fast, concentric rings, brilliant. And while you could add holes into all these shapes with like a circle or a square, that's not particularly difficult, that doesn't take very much time. Once you start getting into really complex shapes, it's a lot harder. So let's look at that. Well, we can just go ahead and center ourselves. And I'll just delete this shape. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, so if we were to, I'm going to use my hotkey C to enter into a complex fill. If we were to have a crazy shape like this, We don't need any holes in this. Start, stop, doesn't really matter where we put it. And we wanted to do the same idea. Concentric rings with this crazy shape. That's going to be a lot harder for us to auto input. So we can do the same technique. Before I get too carried away on this, I'm going to go ahead and save this as test. Just override that old test file. Because if I don't save it, I start doing things with stitch lines. I don't have enough memory in this computer and it will crash. So here we go. Now we're gonna copy paste, do the same thing. Let's make this one green. We are going to go to our operations, offset outline, 25 points, okay. And then maybe let's do one more. So I'm gonna duplicate that. I'm gonna change it to pink. I tend to work in blue, pink, and green until I assign colors. Offset, 25 points. Okay, now we've got a cool, complicated shape. We can do the exact same thing we were doing before, where I'm going to control this together. Blue, we want to take, okay, green, control blue, that's what we're taking the stitches out of, subtract. We've got an outline. Yay! Now the pink and the green we can do the same thing with, control, subtract. Remember, because there's already a hole, it's going to leave us the internal shape, so if we turn these off, it's going to give us this shape and then leave us what was left over from inside the green. So we will get rid of that internal shape, we do not need it. And here we go. Super clean, exactly 25 points all the way around. It makes life so much easier than trying to guess. Now, if we were going to do this, we want crisp concentric rings, we want to think about stitch lines. So my internal shape is set at 75, stitch angle of 75. We can see it up here in the top. And we go to my green, it's also going to be set at 75 because that's what it automatically generates, right? So if we go into our insert stitch directions here, we can find where our stitch line is input at, and we can change its direction. And the rule of thumb is putting it at about 60 degrees from the blue. So you can see right here where I've got my stitch line lining up with the blue. I'm going to rotate that. We don't want it at a 90-degree angle, which would be about here, because that's going to pull our stitches open. We want to keep it at about 60. So this is not a very... Let me put this in a place that's more considerate. There we go. Okay, so we're going to hit here. Here is our... Here's about 90. We'll bring it to about 60. So about 105. It's looking pretty nice and crisp. Yeah, so we can see that the stitch line flows in here and then flows away here. That's going to make it really crisp where the blue hits the green. Now, let's say on our outside edge, we could do the same thing. This is already set at 65 or 75, so we're going to go in, boop, boop, and it'll be nice and crisp for a fill. But frequently we like to finish the outsides of these shapes with a satin stitch. We could convert this fill to a satin by just going up to the satin and changing it to a satin and then inputting all of our stitch directions. Might as well go ahead and do it so we can look at it. This is not my favorite method, and I will tell you why here in a moment. So we could do this. We could throw in all of these fill lines. We can just kind of keep going all the way around, working our way around until the whole thing is pretty. What I don't like about this method, and I'm not even going to do the whole thing, I'm just going to show you. What I don't like about this method, if we turn this off, see where the density gets really tricky in some of these tight corners? It makes it a lot harder to get this to sew out cleanly and well and even, just by changing the direction of our stitch lines in here. Instead, what I would do is turn off my blue and my green, and I would replace this with a column 1. It's going to be much cleaner, much easier, and we can start in a way that's going to be give us a lot more control. So I would use this as a stencil, basically, as an outline guide, and I would do a column 1. So I've got my hotkey is 1 for column 1, and we can just start this right out. So I'm going to start it about right here. And we want to ease into our corners, which is what's going to give us that good tension. Easing in, easing out. And we can just, that one a little bit off. And we can just work our way around nicely, keeping an eye on the stitch directions, making sure it's staying pretty clean and even. And we'll work our way all the way around. Okay, now that we're at this corner, we're getting awfully sharp here. I think what I would do is bring it to like here, end that shape, and then start a new one, a new column right here. So that it's overlapping a bit and then not, got a little carried away there, and not trying to force all those stitches into that really tight point, which is basically what we were going to do when we got over to this end as well. We're going to let them just kind of, we need that a little cleaner. Let them get over here and wrap this up on its own. All right, so if we zoom back out, turn that off, rearrange our elements a little bit, and turn everything back on, go away you pink, we've got a really lovely new shape here that I'm really, really happy with. And if we turn our stitches off so we can see it, we're not getting nearly as much density in those tight corners. It is pretty tight right here still, but you can see our short stitches are turned on. This should sew out fine. I'm not particularly worried about it, I don't think. Yeah, these two things are not real. So if we got rid of our pink layer, just delete it, turn that back on, they're already gone. That was just because the pink was still in there. We're not getting any errors, we're not getting any warnings, should work out beautifully. So there you go. That's an easy way to do your concentric shapes and a nice way to use the column 1 to finish it all off.